Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Thursday from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. As always, Dustin Schutte joining me. Jim Coyle here. Hope your day is off to a good start and you've had one thus far. Dustin, how about you?
I'm doing well. The sun's out. It's going to be about 70 degrees for the next 2 days. I'm going to be looking forward to getting out to the golf course. How about you?
I thought you are the sun with that Pacers yellow. Sun. I'm trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Eclipse of the sun. Cool looking shirt though. Now you have some cool looking Pacers swag. I'm not going to lie to you.
And you know, the yellow stuff, and by the way, typically the yellow stuff tends to be on sale. So when I go and I check out the Pacers,
kind of a reason for that. I'm going to guess there might be a reason for that.
Probably, but you know what? I'm you know, little pat on the back here. I think I look good in yellow, so I'm gonna.
Hey, you know what?
I'll keep them coming in stock.
Not everybody can wear that, and I'm all about a sale. Let me tell you, I am a. I guarantee you, I get the best clothes for the least price than anybody I know. Promise you, I know where to get stuff. I can't. If I won the lottery, I think I would still do this because I know you can.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Why wouldn't I? I love it. I mean, but it's certain things. Right. But I'm talking like Adidas golf shirts, nice Adidas golf shirts for like $15 to $20. Yeah. I mean, I'm all in.
I've done that before, and you go in, especially like around the time of back to school sales, man, you got to take advantage of that stuff because a lot of that stuff gets marked down 25, 30%. There used to be I don't know if it's still here in Georgia or not, but there used to be a day where there was no sales tax on anything. So on top of the back to school discounts, you had no sales tax on back to school items. So you can really clean up.
That's like the day after Halloween, the day after Easter, the day after Valentine's Day, the day after whatever, candy. But yeah, that yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. It's kind of like that. You know how that really got started? I mean, it was a celebration of, and it's not the 5th of May, what they're celebrating. It was something to do with kicking out one of Napoleon, like Napoleon III or something. He had power. One of the Napoleons had power in the Netherlands when I was there. I remember that visiting. I learned that. But anyway, Anheuser-Busch basically made this a holiday. I mean, created it and just built it up and created it into a holiday. I mean, basically like Mother's Day and Father's Day and blah, 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 blah day. So we can sell cards. I mean, not that Mother's Day shouldn't be there. It should. But it's the card companies are the ones that, and the flower shops, those are the people that have pushed that. It's not the day. It's not like Christmas is Christmas. No one needs to push Christmas. We know it's Christmas. It's coming.
Right.
Yeah, the other stuff is, and so it's, but.
I mean, I agree with you. The funny thing is there's, you have other things like Mother's Day and Father's Day. But you compare that, I mean, there's like Best Friends Day and Siblings Day. And if there was a national push to make those big time days, you can bet that it would be on our social media and our email. We'd be getting phone calls about it. So they know how to push. They know how to make a big time holiday. I'm just waiting for National Donut Day to be like a big time holiday because I will clean up.
How is that not? How is that not?
I know.
I don't understand how that is not. Fortunately, I do a good job staying away from donuts now. And luckily I'm not around them very often, I guess. Now, too, that helps. That always helps because, boy, back in the day, there was a time where I had to go buy a Krispy Kreme early, and there may be not a worse smell. It's like pumping crack out into the air, the smell of crack, whatever that would be like, or something along to that. It's like, it just pulls you in. These things are just made. It's like they just melts as it goes into your mouth. It disappears. But yeah,
within 15 steps,
along with about 300 calories with each bite.
Well, within 15 steps, I've got a bakery that makes fresh donuts every morning, so I have to resist the urge. I have to get up early before they open and eat my breakfast, so that way I'm not tempted to go down there and get a donut every day. Because if I did that, it would not be a pretty sight.
All I have to do is look at some pictures from about 2 years ago, and I get nauseated, and that takes care of that real quick. That's no longer a problem. How about Major Aaron Rodgers? He has thrown down the gauntlets up in Green Bay. He's throwing tantrums, and he's not going to play. And we saw this coming a year ago.
Yeah.
And so why are you pitching a tantrum now? I mean, you made your case a year ago. Go behind those doors, say, hey, get me out of here, and make it that. What's with this crap? I don't.
Yeah, and of course, to come out just hours before the start of the NFL draft, the first round on that Thursday, was like, somebody from his camp leaked it or whatever the case might have been, but
no,
like they. But I don't. It just doesn't make much sense to me. And then in the same breath, you would have thought, like, okay, Aaron Rodgers wants Green Bay to get a playmaker, a couple playmakers in this draft, and they really didn't. So that just elevates the situation even more. But we see this now more and more from high-profile athletes. They're not afraid to speak their mind. They're not afraid to stir the pot a little bit. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. I mean, there are plenty of reports out there saying that they believe that if nothing's done, if he's still with Green Bay, then he's more likely to sit. Like, his personality would be to sit. And, I mean, I guess he'll have more time to do Jeopardy. So that's something he can do with his spare time.
Well, the good thing for him and the sad thing for the Colts, why did this not happen?
Yeah.
For Indianapolis? Why? I guarantee you, he's got 3, maybe 4 good years left. Maybe he's got 3 left, but barring injury. And we know that at this stage of your career, injury is much more likely. And it's not that it is likely. It is much more likely just because of age. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. The body in the NFL happens like that. But, dude, the Colts got worse at quarterback. The Colts did not fix their tackle problem, line problem, backside line problem. But, man, if you picked up Aaron Rodgers, I think you would have had an easy time fixing it because you would have had people wanting to come there.
Yep.
They didn't do either of those things. And those are the moves that not happening. That I'm like, damn it. Right there it is. And that's an available, unless there's something that's not allowing it. Green Bay could not be allowing that. They could be saying, we're not trading you. So they may have said no, but you don't receive a no. You just keep going until you get the yes.
And I wonder what it would take. Like, it's not, to me, Carson Wentz is not your quarterback of the future. So what's it going to take to get Aaron? I mean, it's going to be a lot of first round picks, Carson Wentz, and what else do you have to throw in there to sweeten the deal? Because for 3 or 4 years of Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the Colts were a playoff team last season. I think they're still a playoff team with Carson Wentz, but now you become a Super Bowl contender if you have Aaron Rodgers because he will have the weapons in Indianapolis. Like you said, it's going to be more attractive then for an offensive tackle to want to come to Indianapolis if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. It's going to be more attractive for more of these high-level players to want to come to Indianapolis, whether it's this year or whether it's maybe before the 2022 season. So, I mean, Jim Irsay is a smart guy. Chris Ballard is a smart guy. So I'm sure that they're at least picking up the phone. I can't imagine that, 20, there has to be at least 25 organizations at least picking up the phone and inquiring what it would take to bring Aaron Rodgers to their city.
And Jim Irsay, you make a great point. He would love to have, I don't know that there's an owner that would love to have him probably more than Jim Irsay, because Jim Irsay still loves that, and a lot of people are, but is missing that having Peyton Manning is, or a Peyton Manning, and granted, that's not, doesn't come along every day, but Aaron Rodgers he's right there. But that level of confidence, that level of peace of mind as an owner that's providing the product to the fans, yeah, that takes a lot off your shoulders, man. And Aaron Rodgers, but that takes a ton off. But they don't have that. And why don't they have that? Why did that not happen? I mean, that was a possibility then. So who knows?
Yeah. I mean, my guess is it has to do with the Green Bay side. They're going to want, if they're going to deal him, they want something really sweet for that because they know his value. And it may be a case where if we can't have him, then nobody's going to have him, and they'll just let him sit. That's
what she said.
There you go. And so they might just let him sit on the bench.
That's what he said.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out in the next couple months.
Let's see. Almost had a no-hitter yesterday. Baltimore Orioles, John Means, pitched a no-hitter versus Seattle. Missed a perfect game with a wild pitch on a strikeout.
Oh, man, that's brutal.
Are you kidding me? I mean, wow. That is the only thing rougher than that. He was almost perfect on Wednesday, but he'll happily settle for the no-hitter, but I wouldn't. Not because if I lost a perfect game because of a wild pitch I threw on a strikeout, that would really aggravate me. I'd take the no-hitter, but
what inning did it happen in? Does it say? I didn't see
let's see. He retired all 27 batters he faced in the 6-0 victory. But he did allow a base runner when Sam Haggerty reached on a third strike wild pitch in the third inning. So it was out of the way early.
Okay. Yep. I was just going to say it would be if that was the ninth inning, that would have been.
But it was perfect from that point forward, man. Golly, gee, dude, a perfect game is a.
It is.
That's why they're so rare, though. But the worst case ever, a couple of years ago, I can't remember the guy's name, but he lost a perfect game on a horrific call at first base by this far. I mean, that wasn't a Don Dinkinger. That was like a World Series thing, but
yeah, that was. I remember. I don't remember who it was, but I know it was in Detroit. I remember that part of it, and I don't remember the pitcher, and I don't remember who the opponent was, but I do remember it was. And they had the next day, the pitcher and the umpire made amends at home plate or something. That was a bizarre thing.
Alan hit us up on Indy More Honda Hotline because maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go to Indy. I doubt that. He'd go Indy. He would definitely come to Indy to get out of Green Bay. They're set up. Any quarterback, he would step right into that situation, I think. Tim says, looks like 2022 Caleb Banks really likes IU. We'll talk about all that stuff. Now Tamar Banks ranked 26th. Is that ESPN? That's not Rivals, is it? But we got lots more coming up, and we'll get to it. From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, back with more, brought to you by Andy Moore right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new... I'm going to have to get out of the habit of saying all that stuff.
Saying what?
Ins and outs and all that, because we're getting it all
We'll
recorded.
wait and start doing that next week, where we do the segment outros and intros and stuff like that.
It's still going to be a hard habit.
I'll help you break it. I'll just send you a text when I tell you break in two to not say it.
Hello, fine peoples. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing out there this morning? Got to start livening them up, saying hi to the folks. Hi, everybody. Seriously, the people that are on live. There's people that listen live.
I know.
The rest of the people, they don't get to enjoy the liveness of it.
They don't. They don't get to see this awesome shirt.
Well, they do.
Well, I mean, I guess I meant if they're on the radio is what I meant.
Or listening to it,
really
watching later.
Pacer shirt, if you haven't looked at the comments.
What?
Tim told us he doesn't like seeing the yellow P on this show. Reminds him of the school he hates, referring to Purdue.
Oh.
Well, that's actually blue, and it's not black.
I have worn both an Indiana and a Purdue shirt on this show. Guilty.
When did you wear a Purdue shirt? I would cut you. I would block you out.
It was
Not. I mean, I'm not like that.
Right. I think it was during football. I think it was during football season. And then 2 weeks later, I put on my Indiana. I've worn, I think, just about every school from the Big Ten on this show. It's about all my wardrobe is.
You should wear every opponent Indiana faces this fall.
I think I would get ridiculed for that.
Or wear a big shirt with Gary Barta's face on it against Iowa.
Guess what he just got? What did he say?
Oh, he got kicked.
Dustin, what did you say? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. What? What's he saying? I can't hear him.
Just start landing airplanes.
No, it's funny. Hey, is there anything we've added and need to get over here? Videos, any of that stuff? John?
What do you mean?
From, the adding on the side.
We're coming back. We can talk about this next break if we need to.
Gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the golf club at Beaver Point Studios. It looks like sunshine out there. You mentioned golf earlier. It looks like people will be playing at the golf club at Beaver Point Studios, along with some other places today. It's a little chalet up here, let's say. It's kind of, the weather has, we had this cool burst, then it got warm, then it got cool. I'm like, all right, then it's going to get hot. Well, it stayed cool, and it's kind of keeping cool. I'm like, wow, I'm not complaining. It's okay because it's not hot terribly. So I just don't want it to do what it usually does and go from 59 to 89.
Yeah.
And so, but it's been nice.
Yeah, this morning it's been, in the 60s about every morning, and then 70s, 80s. But today it was like 43 this morning, so I had to put on my sweatshirt when I went outside to walk the dog. It is weird, but at the same time, I usually get to golf in the evening, so it's a nice, it's in the mid 60s, and that to me is about perfect to play some golf. I can wear my long sleeve and look like a real professional.
We're going to have to get you some Indiana Sports Beat gear.
I think so. I can sport it out, and I can expand the brand.
Yeah, let's get you. This is my favorite golf wear right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my trademark. I don't have any trademarks, but I was someplace not too long ago. I'm like, oh, I didn't recognize you. You weren't wearing your visor, and I'm like, man, it is. I wear it about every day. A visor, it doesn't have to be that. I mean, It's just I prefer having a visor, even through the winter. I have made it through most of the winter. Yesterday, I was doubting myself as the rain was coming down a little bit. I said, "This is kind of a stupid time to be wearing a visor."
Yeah,
but there you go. Hitting back up on the comments from the Andy Moore Honda hotline. If I could get back over there, I can't get my stupid mouse to slow down and get there finally. Hey, there we're there. Tim says he's still waiting on his visor. Well, there you go. How long can Mike Woodson be with the team? Is there a dead period where coaches can't be with the team until an official practice starts? Man, there's all kinds of rules. I don't know what every rule is. We'll have to pull that out right, because they keep changing them, and they've changed back, and there has not been any live periods for so long that now that there's a live period, they're trying to get out, but they can't. Like, there's the rivals camp this weekend, this football now I'm talking about Dustin, the top 150 rivals camp in Indianapolis. That's a big time camp.
Right. Yeah. And that's an opportunity. The nice thing is, and I don't know, coaches still can't get there until June 1st. They can't do any of that stuff. They're not supposed to be out scouting or sending their assistants or scouts or anything out there to, make offers or see who's playing well or anything like that. But man, the floodgates are going to open here soon. When that May 31st, as soon as it hits midnight on May 31st and switches to June 1st, it's going to be the wild, wild west in terms of recruiting, because these are coaches who have gone for 15, 16 months without having the opportunity to recruit and be out on the road and talk with players face to face. You're already starting to see more visits being scheduled. And to me, I think that benefits Indiana. I think it benefits a lot of the smaller schools. I shouldn't say smaller schools, but a lot of the non-blue blood programs when you talk about football, because, kid gets an offer from Ohio State or a Penn State, that's where they want to go. Alabama, Oklahoma, that's what they know. So having that opportunity to get Tom Allen in front of kids, and have them on campus and see what the campus is like at Indiana, you've seen a drop off a little bit in Indiana's recruiting. But I think that's going to really change when Tom Allen's face-to-face with some of these kids and their new assistants, Charlton Warren, Dylan McCullough. I think that it's going to be an interesting time, but, man, it's going to be a fun summer if you like to follow recruiting. And that counts for basketball, too.
Well, I don't think Indiana's football or recruiting has dropped off. It's never – it's where it was, because they've been developing talent. They have not had the talent. They've used – just sheer getting better. Now that is changing. The numbers are going to change, and I'm going to after the season. But that is the one thing that we have not seen through the entire Tom Allen regime thus far is a bump in recruiting. It has not happened yet. Now, last year you got COVID, screwed all kinds of things up. The year before that, I guess the beginning of COVID or coming off of those bowl losses, I'm telling you, I still think that hurt the recruiting.
Yeah.
We did see a guy from Ole Miss transfer to IU, which is a little unusual after losing. But losing in those bowl games, man, losing to Tennessee, that's still something triggered my mind a second ago. That loss aggravates me to no end still. I mean, that's not – because not from a fan standpoint, but just when I was coaching, when I was a fan, those kind of losses will never – when I was competing in roping, those kind of losses or misses never leave me. Just I don't care. It just I can't because it shouldn't have happened. And I can't get past them. I can't accept it. And I think some fans that get stuck in their mind as well. And for that reason, but –
well, let me throw this out there too. And there's two factors that you kind of bring up that play into this a little bit. Number one is the last two bowl games that teams Indiana have lost to, Tennessee and Ole Miss. Both those teams obviously are in the SEC. And then you look at what happened with the Big Ten and the cluster bleep that you went through with having a season. We're not going to have a season, or the season's back on, and who's going to win a Big Ten? Who gets the right to play in the Big Ten championship game? All these rules, and there were a lot of recruits during that time in the fall that were saying, this is why I want to play in the SEC, because there's no, they were playing. They minimized the schedule. They said, okay, we're playing 10 games or however many they played. And we're not going to deal with this. We're going to try to play. And I think all but one game was played. There were a couple postponements, but at some point they were rescheduled. And that impacts, like Ohio State doesn't have to worry about that. Penn State, Michigan, those schools don't have to worry about that. They have the allure. They have the tradition. Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, name a bunch of other schools in the Big Ten, Rutgers, Maryland, that hurts them in terms of recruiting because they're labeled as a Big Ten school and they don't have the allure of potentially playing for a Big Ten championship on a regular basis or competing in the college football playoff. They don't get that same exposure. So I think those two aspects have really hurt Indiana in terms of not taking that next step up. And the only reason I say drop off when I talk about Indiana's recruiting is because I think the rankings fell the last 2 years as opposed to when Tom Allen's his first 2 years were in the 40s maybe, and I think the last two have been in the 50s. So they're still bringing in some four-star guys. They still have plenty of talent. They're still recruiting the state well. You just haven't seen them take it up to a top 30 class, which is where I think Indiana's next step should be.
Well, the one thing, recruiting is hard to change, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
those numbers. I've talked about that. And in the Big Ten, Indiana, they're not making cracks though, and there are other teams that do. When Minnesota, they're able to make a bump in recruiting and move up the line. Northwestern, boom, and even Nebraska, Indiana is not doing that. And I know they're developing talent and they've got great coaching, but you've got to start getting better talent now. It cannot continue. There's been too many years without this going on now. And so I think that the elite talent, I don't know how much the McCullers are going to help with that. Unfortunately, though, that's a forced change. I mean, I was thinking it was going to happen organically without something like the McCullers forcing the issue. But it hasn't yet.
Well, let me chime in on that, because I think I understand what you're saying in the fact that they're following their father basically to IU. So I get what you're saying in that regard. But I do think it has happened organically, because Dylan McCullough was the guy who reached out to Tom Allen about taking that job. He wanted to leave Kansas City to come back to Indiana to coach those running backs. So in a way, I understand what you're saying, but the fact that Indiana is such an appealing place to coach, that's a product of what Tom Allen and his staff have done and what Indiana has done. They've they upped the salary pool for assistant coaches. They have given
the money,
Tom Allen a better contract.
The resources given to football, crazy.
Yeah.
It is nuts. Look at the assistant coaches' salaries just over 4 years, maybe three.
Yeah.
But 4 for certain. It's crazy. There was probably 4 years ago, maybe 2 assistant coaches, maybe 2 coaches besides Tom Allen making $500,000. Maybe. I will guarantee you there are double that to maybe 5, not including Tom Allen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, and you look at
it's 4 at least. I know.
Look at I don't have the contract numbers in front of me, but like what Dylan or Charlton Warren is making like 1.5 times or 175% of what Kane Womack was making. Like it's almost double. And the same is true from Dylan McCullough or Mike Hart to Dylan McCullough. So there's that investment there. And that's why it's such an attractive job for some of these coaches. And by the way, if you are wanting to get into becoming a coordinator or if you want to be a head coach somewhere, obviously we've seen that happen the last 2 years with Kalen DeBoer and then Kane Womack. So it's a destination. And again, I think that speaks to what Indiana's product is, what the culture is, because you were able to get an assistant like Dylan McCullough and reap the benefits of that. Now you got all 3 of his sons coming to the program. And I think when you see a top 50 player, I think he's listed as the top 50 in most recruiting areas. I'm not sure where he is in terms of the composite, but a top 50 player, more top 100 players are going to see that, and it's going to be more appealing. You said it's just a matter of time before Indiana gets a 5-star. And if they have another good season, I agree with you. I think they'll get a 5-star talent at some point in the next couple of years.
I can't find this chart. It's driving me nuts. That recruiting chart that I talk about that JB sent. I know it was. He sent it to me, and I'm fairly certain I thought it would be here in my messages. But it went back to. I'm trying to think when it went back to. It was just Indiana's recruiting, but it goes back to like the year 2000. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I think as far as back as it went, but it has 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star listed at the top, how many, and then the percentage of what that was. And in 2000, 82% of Indiana's recruiting was 2-star, averaged at 2-star or below. Mm-hmm. Then you can see it moving a little bit. You can just sit there and look at the numbers, but then you see them get their first 4-star. They had not gotten a 4-star yet at all. Then you see them get their first 4-star, and then it was like, or maybe they got 2, then they got 1, but then they got like 4. And you can sit there and look at that. The percentage, it just starts crossing over to where now 80% of their recruiting is above the 3-star level. It has to be moved over yet one more. Indiana has got to be at a high 3 to a 4 average to where they can continuously compete in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, and I think that's going to happen. I can't remember if it's 6 or 7, but 6 or 7 of the 10 highest ranked recruits in Indiana football history since, I think you're right, 2000 is when Rivals and 247 Sports and ESPN started keeping track of star ratings. All those recruits, 6 or 7 of those 10 have come under Tom Allen's watch. So that's a big deal. So just in the last 4 or 5 years alone, you've seen a huge bump in recruiting. And think about this. In Tom Allen's short time, and I know Jim Harbaugh isn't far behind, or he's had just only a few more years, but Tom Allen has flipped 2 Ohio State recruits. Jim Harbaugh has flipped 0. So that's that's a big deal. You don't see players flip from Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma very often. It happens once occasionally, or they might flip to another blue blood program. You don't see teams like Indiana, Rutgers, Iowa State. You don't see those teams flipping. So for him to do that twice in the last 3 years, I think it was, because the last one was Samson James, that's a big deal. And again, kids, 4-star, 5-star, high 3-star guys are going to notice that.
Here, I'm looking at the chart. Actually, this just starts at 2005. It's not as long back as I thought. So, and in 2005, 82% were 2 stars.
Wow.
82%. 78 of the players.
That's a MAC roster.
In 2005, in 2005, they had 78 2 stars or below, I'm assuming. They had 17 3 stars and 0s for 4s. They did not get their first 4-star recruit until 2011 when they got 1. And by then, though, the 2-star recruits had dropped to 50% of their recruiting. That is a gigantic drop in a short period of time.
Yeah.
But it just shows you. But then they got that first 4-star, like I said. Then they got it next year. They got 1. Then they got 5. Then they got 7. Then they've gotten 6. Got 6. They had a drop off there. 2, 1, back up to 5 to 6. Now 8. So they hit a lull there in 17 and 18. Is that the coaching change? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right at the coaching change.
Right at the coaching change. Yep, exactly.
So, and now it's turned around. And I talked about those percentages. Again, like I said, at 2000, it jumped already to 50% in 2011, which is astounding, and just continues to plummet to 2021. That number that went from 82% at just 2005 and is now 13%.
Whew. Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
82 to 13%. 80% of this roster is made up of 3 stars or better. 10% is 4 stars.
And that's why you saw them go 6-2 last year.
And they really haven't gotten that recruiting bump yet, though. I don't think that's coming. And when that happens, boys, that's when things will really change. I mean, this is fun, but you got to there's more that has to come to lock in consistency.
Right.
That's what's on the way. We got to take a break because I'm running on, but that's some great stuff. But that's some serious numbers. And that's a great chart. I'll send that to you. We'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Thinking about retirement?
And I've got this Rivals camp thing. Do you want that? It's got the early roster.
Yeah, sure. I didn't know that was an indie.
Yeah, you
Jim,
should
have
come
you
up.
Have you heard from Martha the Mop Lady yet?
I have not reached out. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, you're good. I wanted to go ahead and double check with Chris if he was good for 10 o'clock.
Shoot, he there's no reason for him not to be, but
do you want me to check with him or do you want me to just let it be?
Have you sent him the link?
Yeah, he has. He always send the link to him at the beginning of the show.
He's a pro, brother. He'll let you know.
Okay, will do. Let me know.
There are some people I don't worry about checking on. He's one of them.
Like I've noticed, Kyle. He likes it when I let him know what time he goes on.
See,
like
and you'll learn.
Yeah,
that's because we've changed him so much. And sometimes he has to change.
Yeah,
all right. So
I've noticed that too.
All right.
And Jim Reamer does it too.
I just sent that to you, Dustin.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
I'm surprised you're not coming up to that.
Excuse me. Yeah, we put a halt on travel, I think, still.
Halt on travel.
Hopefully that changes for the season, but
a halt on travel.
That's right.
Governor Brian Kemp put a halt on travel.
Who?
No,
aren't you Georgia?
That's our governor. No. The company.
I was gonna say I couldn't see Governor Kemp doing that.
No, he did not. I can.
All right, I can't get the. Where the fuck? Why is that not? I don't understand that.
All right, we'll go and bring us back.
33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Jim Coyle and Dustin Schutte with you as always. The Andy Moore Honda hotline's been quiet because we're not talking about Indiana basketball. So the peeps go quiet.
Come on, we got to get the momentum for football season. This is going to be this. You got to carry on that momentum, especially if they're going to open up Memorial Stadium.
Tim says, "Yeah, Mike Whitson has 11 sisters. Wow, that you know what that tells me? That dude is going to be really good when he goes into a recruit's home. That's what that tells me. Ha! Worried about him talking to kids? Are you kidding me, man? Who do you want? That's who you want going in there. You want a man going in there that's got 11 sisters. Man, are you kidding me? That's like my grandparents or their parents. My grandmother, Catholic family, 12 of them. And all that's like, wow. I was like, why? That was common.
Yeah.
But for people to talk about him not being able to, that's crap. Man, he grew up having to do for his own and made his own way, and the family and the women around it. What are you talking about? NBA? All I keep hearing is people pouring perfect little ingredients into this little recipe mixer. Seriously, it's like
that is a good analogy right there.
It is. I'm like, oh, so we'll add a little of this. We add a little of Dane Fife, and we've added a little recruiting touch from different parts of the places. Add a little Thad Matta for that. We'll give Thad a little assistant, and now we've got Mike Whitson, who's got the NBA creds, credentials, contacts, all of that. I've not heard anything negative. Really haven't.
No, I haven't either.
But there's got to be something that people don't like or would like to know. I mean, but you have to go to the boards to find that stuff out because
Well, I
What?
mean, some
Kravitz.
people are
Kravitz
always going to
reported-
be happy, only happy when they're unhappy. So,
Hey, some people like to complain. Yeah, I did not see AJ's interview. But yeah, it's just, I'm looking forward to seeing what this first season basketball is like.
mhm.
I'm looking forward to seeing the change on the offensive change, the brand of basketball that people are going to see. It is going to be different. It's going to be a hell of a lot more fun. I guarantee you. It could be like, and I'm not saying it's going to be, but if it were like the 6-25 season where they were 6-25, it would still be more fun than it has been in the last 4 years. It has been like going to the funeral home for someone's services, not a direct family member, but someone you knew. It's been like going to the funeral home for 4 years, going to Assembly Hall, because it's like, all right, here we gotta go for this. That's morbid.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know what Indiana's final record is going to be, and I don't know if they're going to be a 500 team or in the top half of the Big Ten or how.
Oh, they're better than 500 team. They're a tournament team. I'll tell you that right now.
But the point is that I think it's going to be a lot more fun. I think that the product you're going to see is going to be more entertaining because.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I know, and I'm backing you up on this because you're not going into it thinking we're going to see the same stuff. A lot of times the players weren't getting developed. Like, I think you're going to see completely different. I think you're going to be able to see the development. Whether that translates to wins right away, I mean, it's tough to put that kind of onus on a first year head coach, especially somebody who hasn't coached at the college level before. But I do think it's going to be a more entertaining product, and that alone will give you hope for the future.
Well, absolutely, but and I hate to. But you got all this change that's going about too, that is going to have to be navigated. There is a ton of change happening at the same time. Name, image, likeness.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm concerned about for Indiana because
are you
Indiana.
serious?
Hold on. I'm concerned because of how Indiana is as far as being the most conservative in every manner possible on every single thing, which may be dissuasive. If that's not a word, I guess I just coined that and made it up, but dissuasive to certain elite players coming here. It's not that there can't be. There's the availability is here just like any place else. Does that happen?
Right.
There's no doubt you're going to see when that starts to happen, you're going to see, I'll use players that are no longer here that I personally know. Jordan Hulls. Let's say Jordan still playing. There's no doubt you're going to see Andy Moore Honda, Jordan Hulls brought to you by Andy Moore Honda or whatever. That's what's coming.
Right.
How conservative does Indiana say? There's got to be a lot of control. And that's the issue where schools have to worry about. Well, the schools that care, like Indiana does care, that they're going to have to worry about. Because if you thought there was cheating before, you think this is going to cure cheating? You're out of your stinking mind.
Yeah.
The cheating will change zero. This is not doing anything to change cheating. This is curing some problem that didn't exist, in my mind.
Right. But I mean, it's coming down the pipe. So I agree. I think that you bring up a good point because I was going to say, Indiana basketball is going to have no trouble if they do the name, image, likeness. That's going to be appealing to a lot of players because a lot of people are going to be willing to fork over some money for commercials, for autograph signings, for all that stuff. So that would be appealing. It's kind of like Nebraska football in the sense that it's such a big part of the state where you're going to see a bump in recruiting if that happens on the Nebraska football side because everybody's going to be willing to, how can I help? How can I throw in I'm willing to add, $10,000, or I'm willing to do this or that.
And I've talked about that a ton, and I've never, because we don't know, I'm like, what is going to stop? I know there's something in place that says language reasonable, this, that. Is there a number? Is there a number that is reasonable? Is what I want to know, first of all. If not, then who's to say what's reasonable? If you've got a kid that is the projected number one pick in the NBA draft, then what the hell's reasonable? He's going to sign a contract for over $3 million a year. So what the hell's reasonable? He's going to sign a contract with Adidas or Nike or Under Armour or somebody. So what the hell's reasonable?
Well,
it's just, and I'm sorry to keep going, but people that have driven this are politicians that don't know what the hell they're talking about, that got involved in stuff, that don't know what the hell they're talking about. Oh, we're going to settle this injustice. Bull crap. They don't know what you're talking about. You hear things and you don't get all the facts, but you don't know that you've opened a Pandora's box that you're not going to get back in.
Right. I completely agree with you. And the market, I mean, to give you an example, like LeBron, if you have a player, like a generational player, say a LeBron James, who's coming to your school, okay, LeBron James's NBA contract is nowhere near what his endorsement deals and these other investments he has are. So where do you draw the line? And who's to say what a reasonable market value is? Who are you putting in charge of that? Certainly you can't do the NCAA, because then you're going to have an issue again with the NCAA. So I don't really know. Again, I personally don't really care. If somebody wants to do an autograph signing and make $1,000, I have no problem with that. I think they can and should be able to do that. But where you draw the line are these, commercials and these social media influencers. Those are going to be huge money makers. And I just don't know how you determine the market value of that. And furthermore, who's going to be determining the market value of that? So I'm curious too. Everybody says this is a good idea. And again, I don't know, but what happens when you have, player X, who's a top 5 pick, maybe raking in 25,000. I'm just using easy numbers. And then you have another guy who may be a top 20 pick in the same locker room, who's maybe making $2,000.
I mean, what about the guy that's not making jack?
You might, and guys who aren't going to make anything. So you're going to have I think there's going to be some locker room issues. Personally.
And then the problem is, you go to a school like Duke, Kentucky, where the guy that doesn't even get into the game, sitting at the end of the bench, he's getting paid though.
Yeah,
he's getting paid though. I guarantee you, those places, they're going to have, and I've talked about this, I think they're going to have a package. I think it will come down to a recruiting visit with a package. Well, and they're going to come in and say, hey, Mrs. So let me show what we got here. XYZ car lot, we've got you set up. Look at here. Yep. We got him set up he's going to get a nice little bonus when he comes in. What's going to stop that?
And let me throw another scenario out here to you as well. One I've thought about, and this was not brought up me, but somebody else brought this up. And what happens when you have a guy who plays, 20 minutes the whole season, but he's got a great personality. He's a walk-on. He's got a great personality, and he's a great, he's the fan favorite, right? He's the guy that comes in. He's the guy everybody sticks around for to see if he's going to get in at the end of that 30-point blowout. And he's getting a contract deal. He's getting a commercial deal. Meanwhile, you got a couple starters over here who didn't get that offer because, nobody cares about them. So there's just so many different situations and scenarios. And again, I'm not saying that these players can't get paid, make money in some way, shape, or form, but it's such a slippery slope. Like, this isn't black and white. There's a whole lot of gray, and I'm just curious to see how it all.
And that's the
out.
problem. And not only that, it's been implemented in, I don't know how many states right now, but I think it's at least 5 or 6 that have passed. Was Florida or Georgia, Florida. Someone just last passed it here recently, which again is a joke. So now you're going to have what? Kids that are going to Florida schools can do this right now, but if you're going to IU, you can't.
Yeah.
I don't think that they can allow that to go forward until until there is a unified way of doing this for everybody. You can't. Now, these states are forcing the NCAA to do it, which I don't have a problem with that because the NCAA is run by a Muppet. Mark Emmert.
Yes.
That's his name, Muppet Mark. Muppet Mark Emmert, he's a Muppet. And that's exactly and how they just re-upped that Muppet. I get so furious to think people like him and Archie Miller that have walked away from being a Muppet. Frauds, Muppets, cheaters, making millions and millions of dollars. Millions of dollars being a fraud, being a cheater, being a Muppet.
Yep.
It's just ridiculous. But he has to be forced. His hand has to be forced. The reason we're where we are is because they stuck their head in the sand and refused to deal with any of it. Had they dealt with some of it along the way, had they incrementally taken it on, taken bites out of it, move forward, constantly move forward, we would not be here, and they would be doing this for a lot less. They would probably be getting a stipend, a nicer stipend, and something, and this or that, and the other thing, and boom. But no, Muppet Mark, this has always worked. I'm going to put my head in the sand and see how that works. How'd that work for you? It does not. It's never worked. It worked for a while back in the days, but this is a different society, man. The kids of the people that have grown up they're too liberal.
Well, and the fact of the matter is the NCAA was so stupid when it implemented some of these rules in the first place, where if you just loosen some of these things up, if you sat down and had a conversation, if you had a players coalition or a committee or whatever it might be to talk about some of these things, I go back to whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago, the big deal was, a booster or donor or whatever can offer bagels to the team, but he can't offer cream cheese or peanut butter or any sort of toppings or anything like that, because that would be impermissible benefits and stuff like that. It's like, if you change some of those rules, then you're probably not in this situation. If you continue to change with the times, you're probably not in this situation. So again, there's so many, this is one of the most interesting conversations because, what happens when, again, a top 50 recruit signs with Indiana, he signs a deal with a car company, and then he's like, I hate Indiana, I'm going to transfer to Duke. Do I owe that money back? I mean, you're also putting 18-year-old kids in these contract situations that they know nothing about. And I think that that's also a dangerous game. So to me, this is fascinating because it's like a wreck, an accident waiting to happen. There's going to be unintended consequences.
Of course it is.
But nobody is talking about that. Nobody is thinking about that. So we'll see what happens, but it's a crazy time.
Something else that I just thought of, think about Indiana basketball players versus Indiana football players.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a disparity there?
Yep.
The best football player probably would be probably seventh on the basketball team, maybe, I'm thinking.
In terms of earnings, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. At least probably outside the starting five most years, unless you have a Heisman Trophy caliber player.
And especially because more often than not, that kid on the basketball side could very possibly be from the state of Indiana. On the football side, if he's very successful, odds are he is not from the state of Indiana. For Indiana, right now at least.
That's a good point. And, I mean, and especially in a state like Indiana where basketball is huge anyway, I mean, people recognize basketball. I mean, when you're playing football, you got that helmet on. It's hard, sometimes if you're not watching, you may not recognize it. Indiana football does not have a huge following. You recognize Trace Jackson Davis. You recognize Race Thompson. You recognize Jordan Geronimo. There's probably guys that wouldn't recognize, Samson James or a Tywan Mullen or some of these other guys. And I'm not trying to, or Micah McFadden, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying when you have that helmet on all game, they might know their name, but if they're walking around town, you're going to notice the basketball guys. You unless you're a diehard fan, you're probably not going to recognize some of these football guys.
Well, and that's part of the argument. Indiana's got this no names on the jerseys, and everybody that cracks me up when you say they start talking about that, having that conversation. All the old traditionalists, they start, what? Why they say those names on jerseys? No, we can't. My God, what's going on? And start they're going to kill somebody if they hear that. It cracks me up, but I couldn't care less about names on jerseys. I've said this before. Now, basketball, it's not even about tradition. I don't care because in basketball, it's just not needed.
Right.
There's only 12 guys, 13 guys. You can't remember 13 guys? You don't deserve to know who the hell they are. There's 13 numbers and faces that you see plastered on a calendar every year, plastered on TV. It's not necessary. That's why names aren't needed. You've got the 5 stars there. That's fine. That's what's that. All the other sports, football, baseball, yes. You damn well do need names on there. I don't want to hear that crap about tradition. What tradition? You know why the tradition started? Because they didn't put names on jerseys then. That's why that tradition started.
Right.
Then the tradition was changed and they started putting names on jerseys. Then that was new tradition. So tradition, that's hey, we got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're just having some fun here today. Glad you're with us. Dustin Schutte sitting in as always. Chris Denari from the Pacers joining us next. We'll probably won't talk a lot about the Pacers. We'll find something else more pleasurable to talk about because there's not a lot there to talk about, and that would be painful for him because I really meant to talk about this with you before we went on, but coaching, he's probably in trouble. So I'm going to bring that up with Chris. But we'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Any More Honda right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a
Jim, I'm going to start taking funny quotes from the shows and clipping them into their own little, I don't know what you want to call them. Like when you were saying he's a Muppet, like I'm going to start having that up ready to go if that's ever appropriate to be said.
That would be incredible.
And then yesterday I thought of Bob Kravitz. I like the Archie's Gone, Bob. I'm going to take the Archie's Gone, Bob. That
is a good, yeah. Or like when I say he's a Muppet, actually, dun, 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 dun. See, go. to me, that's funnier. Just 2 seconds of dun, 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 dun. But everybody knows what that is. I mean, how do you not know what that is?
Right.
You're thinking of those 2 old men. God, that's what I think of. And I think of Mark Emmert. I think of him, one of those 2 old men, white old men sitting up in that balcony. They're trying to take away our control we got on all this.
You think of one of those? I think of Beaker.
Just from Mark Emmert? Old white guy. Just old, out of touch white guy. Chris Denari, that's who I'm talking about. Out of touch white guy. No, I'm kidding.
What's up?
I was talking about Mark Emmert and comparing him to I call him a Muppet. And I always think of one of the old men Muppets in the balcony when I think of Mark Emmert. I was calling him an old man out of touch, not you.
Yeah. How does he keep his job?
Dude, I was just having that conversation. I don't know. It drives me nuts. People like Archie Miller, his brother Sean Miller. You cheat. You're a fraud. You're a Muppet. And these guys have made over $100 million total.
That's great. That's crazy.
It is, and it's true. $100 million. Well, I'm trying to make this as pain-free for you today, so I'm not going to talk about.
Oh man,
I'm not. I got questions for Chris.
I was going to take it easy on him today, man, because I'm like, hey, that's what's he going? What the hell's he going to say? The coaching situation that just sucks.
I'm a glutton for punishment, so
All right, we're coming back.
Now, don't forget, he works.
The account is a part of your plan.
From there.
A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It is Thursday. That means Chris Denari is with us. Chris, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Couldn't be better. The last 48 hours have not been a whole lot of fun, but that's what you sign up for. And we got another one tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. So
you have tea time, or you have a tea time or something I'm not aware of?
No. I wish. Unfortunately, my golf clubs have not gotten out of my trunk yet. So
I told you I'm trying to help out. I was trying to soften the blow for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll hit the little white golf ball here shortly, but just a lot of prep work and stuff. And Atlanta tonight, after a disappointing performance last night, it's amazing. You go from scoring 152, then you score 141 in a loss, and then last night against a team that is playing well but has one of the worst defenses in the league, you only scored 93. Just a real interesting time. A lot of injuries. Things swirling off the floor that, you don't know what is out there in reality, but it's definitely been a frustrating type year with the injuries, just with the lack of consistency, the up and down performances. And, we'll just see where this team is. They have 7 games left. They still sit in 9th and still probably in pretty good shape to get a play-in spot. Because Toronto, I think, is 4 games back and Chicago's 4.5. So unless you don't win a game the rest of the way, you probably will be in the play-in situation. But most likely you would play a Washington team who has absolutely handed it to you a couple of times. So again, that's the beauty about sports. We just have to wait and see what happens. But clearly, the last 24, 48 hours have not been good for the Pacers.
And I wanted to talk about.
I'm going to let Dustin jump in. He's not going to take it easy. He's just going to start. But he does have his Pacers shirt on for you.
He does.
Yeah, I will always be tried and true. It's been a lifelong fandom, so I'm not going to give up or anything. But I want to build off your comments about the frustration and some of the disappointment. Obviously, it's been an injury-plagued season for the Pacers so far. But last night, we kind of saw it come to a head when you saw Greg Foster, assistant coach, kind of go at Gogo Batadze after giving up an easy layup. And I was kind of thinking the same thing. These last 5 games, with the exception of that Oklahoma City game, it seems like to me the Pacers are just giving up way too many easy buckets. I mean, especially in that Washington game when guys were just getting to the basket uncontested. I understand it's not the 90s where you're going to see Antonio Davis and Dale Davis and Rick Smits put guys on the floor anymore when they're coming down the lane, but these baskets have come too easy, and they're not coming at a time when it's 2 minutes in and it's 6-5. These are at critical points in the game. Yeah. So I was right there with Greg Foster and the frustration. I mean, do you think it's a fatigue issue? Is it a communication issue? I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's a cohesiveness right now, especially at some of those key points in the game when you really need that.
Yeah, Dustin, I would say it's cohesiveness and not being tied together. Maybe having different combinations out there. I mean, last night, in the fourth quarter, we saw 5 guys out on the floor that had not played together once this year. Now, you can use that as an excuse, but I also think that, they've just had some problems defensively. Nate Bjorkgren has wanted to do things like they did in Toronto. Pressure out front, put a lot of ball pressure on. And when you have Miles Turner at the rim, that helps you out a little bit. And I'm not sure that as the season's moved along, that the players that the Pacers have can, produce what he's probably looking for defensively. They just aren't set up that way. And so at what point, and I'm sure they're trying to make adjustments, do you make adjustments to defend a little differently? Because you're right. If you go back to the Washington game, and they're playing really well. I mean, last night they lose by 135-134 at Milwaukee, and Westbrook had another monster game. So it's not just the Pacers that somebody like Westbrook is doing it to, but they took full advantage of how they wanted to play, and I thought had the Pacers on their heels much of the game. One of the great strengths of the Pacers when they are playing well is they are the team that is running. They are the team that is creating turnovers. They're the team that is one of the top teams in fast break points. And you just haven't seen that of late. I mean, they got outscored in the fast break 30-4 against Washington. And last night I'm looking, it was 28-11. So you've taken one of Indiana's great strengths and played it against them. And that's really hurt. And you're right, the points in the paint, if you can't defend the rim, I mean, there's just nowhere to go. And Washington and Sacramento both didn't have to rely on three-point shooting. We've seen the NBA move to heavy three-point shooting. But when you can attack and get to the rim, you don't have to worry about the three-point shot. So, a lot of it just comes, they've got to be better tied together. You've got to be better individually on your man. Because if the three of us are playing 3-on-3 basketball and we each are guarding somebody, we've got to work together. But if I break down, then Jim and Dustin are going to have a problem. If Dustin breaks down, Jim and I are going to have a problem. So each person has to take it upon themselves to do a better job individually, and then that ties everybody together.
You mentioned the play-in earlier, and just like any portion of the playoffs, it's going to work better for some than it does others. But it's also going to, you mentioned the Pacers are going to probably end up playing a team that they have not done well against. Who would you prefer to see the Pacers play? And what chance do they actually get of, do they have a shot at getting close to playing somebody else?
Well, I mean, right now, I think Boston last night moved into 6th. So they would be out of the play-in. Your play-in teams would be Miami, Charlotte, Washington, and the Pacers. They beat Charlotte once. Charlotte won the season series 2-1. They beat Miami twice. They've lost 2 to Washington. I don't necessarily think it matters who you play, guys. It's how are you playing. I think that the real focus has to be on the Pacers. How are they playing? What did they do to make it tough on the other team? Because any of these teams that you play are going to scrap and claw to try to get into that 7th or 8th spot. So I think a number of the players talked about that last night. I thought there was, I rewatched some of the things. That's the beauty about Facebook and Twitter. You can go to the Pacers account and watch all of these post-game press conferences. And I thought Justin Holiday, who is the oldest player on the team, had some really good things to say. He goes, right now it's really not about a lot about X's and O's. It's about how we come together as a team. And it's interesting because they asked him about the situation between Greg Foster and Goga Batadze, where there was a timeout. Goga had said something to the bench, and that really set Greg Foster off. And, Justin said, look, guys, this is sports. It happens. We're competitive. We're fiery. We get upset. And a lot of times those things happen. It just happened to play out in front of everybody on television. So I'm sure they dealt with that in the locker room last night. And you just have to find a way to come together and be better here for the final 7 games of the season.
One of the things that you, one of the things you talk about, Chris, on the broadcast and Quinn even as well is, the beauty about the NBA is you can have a really ugly loss, and then the next night, 24 hours later, you get to play another basketball game and put that out of your mind. But tonight, you bring back Nate McMillan, who coached the Pacers for a couple seasons. He's got the Hawks playing really well.
Yeah.
What is it about? I think the Pacers have won one and lost one against Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. What has Nate McMillan been able to do that the Hawks are playing so well, and how do the Pacers stop it?
Well, you also got to mention Nate McMillan comes in while there's talk about Bjorkman too. So you can't just bury the lead right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Nate has done, he's taken a franchise that over the last few years has struggled. Lloyd Pierce was an assistant in Philadelphia, and again, a good coach. And let me walk back a second. I think a lot of these coaches that lose a job and move on, they didn't lose a job because they weren't a good coach. It might just have not been a proper fit with that organization, or you've been at a place too long. I mean, Terry Stotts is under pressure right now in Portland. He's been there for 9 years. Mike Budenholzer in Milwaukee, if the Bucks don't do well in the playoffs, he could be gone. Doesn't mean they're not good coaches. It means organizations are looking for a different fit. So back to Nate and Atlanta. They were a team well under 500. A lot of young talent. Trae Young, college basketball fans remember him at Oklahoma. Kevin Huerter played at Maryland. They have Clint Capella. They had a lot of pieces that, for whatever reason, weren't fitting. And they made the change and moved Nate McMillan to the next seat. And they've gone 23-10 since. And I think Nate is an excellent head coach. He's going to make people accountable. He did a really good job with the Pacers. I think the one thing that hurt Nate was the fact that 3 out of the 4 years, the Pacers got swept in the playoffs. And that's the only negative that I can say about Nate McMillan.
That's a big negative, though.
Yeah, it is a negative. It's unfortunate. And even Nate, I think, prior to the year last year said, look, if we can't do something in the playoffs, it might be time for you to make a change to the front office. And that's ultimately what they decided to do. So doesn't mean he's not a good coach. He's won a lot of games in this league. And he was the right coach, I think, at the right time right now for Atlanta to try to take them to the next step. And they've definitely done that. And they're playing defense at a higher level. Last night they beat the best team in the league in Phoenix by 30 points. So this is going to be a tough one. And he brings the Hawks in to Bankers Life Fieldhouse at a time where the Pacers are a little bit fragile. There's no question. But that's the beauty about sports. Can the Pacers turn it around? Can they use something like this tonight to sort of remotivate themselves and make a push here to the end of the year?
You know, the McMillan thing reminds me of, it's like an ex-wife. It truly like an ex-wife. It reminds me because like me and my ex-wife, we have a daughter. We get along fine. Why else would you not want it to be that situation? But the bigger thing is what happens after that. Maybe the reason the Hawks are where they are is because of this was what happened here and of what is happening right now for the Pacers. Who knows what's going to happen next? But maybe that is the actual step that needed to happen. But all these things, life is just silly and goofy. And sometimes it just takes a goofy couple of missteps for it to get to where you need to get to work it out. But I think that it will. And I think that you're exactly right. While those pieces, they just have to settle into their spots. And whether it's McMillan settling in Atlanta because of the fit, that fit has to settle. And you're exactly right.
Well, and I'm sure Nate McMillan learned a lot about himself. He's coached 17 years, but you keep learning. I mean, I've done well over 1,000 telecasts with the Pacers, and I keep learning each and every night. You learn, I need to do this better the next night, or I need to do this differently the next night. We're all learning. Your radio show, same thing. And so I think Nate McMillan probably has taken over his 17 years from when he was in Seattle to Portland to Indiana. He's made adjustments. He's polished what his message is. And that's what happens in sports. And coaches who stay at places a long time, I think in the NBA, I think the longest tenured coach right now is Eric Spoelstra, and he's been in Miami for 12 plus years. He's got great support from Pat Riley and that organization. But I'm sure he polishes and says things and does things a little bit differently each year. Mike Krzyzewski's been at Duke for 30 years, 40 years? But you're constantly making changes because, one, the athletes change, the student athletes at the college level change. Professional players are different than they were 5 or 10 years ago. So I think it's a process, as you said, Jim. You're right. And I think that's what has to happen. And for the Pacers, at least for this season, it has to happen very quickly because you only have 7 games and 2 weeks left in the regular season.
This is a tough, the last question before I let you go. Chris asking, didn't realize Karras was having the numbers he's had this season. Is he better now than Victor was in his prime season pre-injury? So that's a hard question to answer. I mean, you can look at the numbers, but the effect on the team, I don't know that you can compare the apples to oranges.
Yeah.
Kind of have apples to oranges there.
Yeah, and it's really hard to compare. I mean, I go back to 17-18. That was Victor's best year in the NBA, his first season. He was outstanding. The building was full of people. There was an energy. So it's hard to compare this year to that year because, you have to create as a player your own energy. You're not feeding off the crowd. I think Karras is going to be a really good player for the Pacers. I mean, if you think back, it's been 2 months since he had major surgery. He had cancer surgery on his kidney. And so there's no question that I think he's going to be a really good player. And yes, Yo Smith, I forgot, Pop is the Spurs of the Spurs coach. It's funny because Quinn and I were talking about this last night, just about why some coaches can last longer in places and other coaches have to make a move. Larry Bird always was a believer that you were effective for about a 3 to 5 year period before the players tuned you out and they needed another voice. But clearly, Spoelstra in Miami, 12 years? Pop has been in San Antonio for 20 plus years. Now, it also helps that Greg Popovich basically runs the franchise, right? He is a major decision maker. So that helps your stature a little bit when you're making those calls. But back to the Pacers, they have a short time here to see what they can do. Justin Holiday said last night after the game, he said, the great thing about sports, we still have a chance. We still have a chance to be in the play-in situation. Then it's a one and done. You move on to the next round. You're in the playoffs. So there's always a chance. As low as you may feel, there's always a chance. And I think Donnie Walsh told me it best back in 2006 when I took this job. He goes, look, it's a long season. There's going to be a lot of highs and lows. You can't get too high and you can't get too low. If you get too high after all the good things happen, you're just going to come crashing down. And if you get too low, you won't enjoy when your team wins and takes that next step up. So I've learned a lot in my 15 years of being around the NBA, and I try to think about that. And so that's how I'll go into tonight's game, getting ready for the telecast, preparing that way.
I think that's the biggest thing for fans, exactly, is they ride those highs. But, man, when you ride that wave, that baby's going to crash because they don't stay up there all day. It's coming down.
Right. No, you've got to be fan. You're right, Jim. You've got to be prepared. The highs are great. There's no question about that. But you've also got to be willing to deal with those lows.
Some great stuff today. And funny, two names that we mentioned. I'm going to give a visor away later. Two names, Stotts – oh, God. Dang it, gave away half the answer. Two names that we mentioned coaching an NBA. Man, I feel like there's a skit on Saturday Night Live that every time she gives it away right off the bat, which I just did that. Gee whiz. But oh well. Man, thanks a lot so much, Chris, for joining me. I had a blast. I hope you guys have fun, brother. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Great Chris Denari joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Yeah, two names we mentioned there. What two names did we mention that what are the Indiana connections? Now you're going to go Google that crap. So you've got 30 seconds. If you're on YouTube, watching on YouTube, send it in or a text line. You've got 30 seconds to get that one in. What two coaches did we just talk about that have big time Indiana connections? I'm gonna give you like a minute because I know people that they're Googling that crap away.
That's right.
And that's another thing. I saw somebody else a minute ago on Twitter that I'm stealing their Twitter post. It is, where did it go? Go backwards, please. Don't lose that, man. Yeah, it's somebody else had posted this, but it says, before asking me, ask yourself, did I ask Google? Because you have no idea. Do you have any idea how many times a day I'll get messages? I try to answer any messages from people there, and there are tons, but the ones that I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like getting these, and it aggravates me. Hey Jim, what time's the game? Hey Jim, where's the game on? Dude,
get the ESPN.
Google that crap.
Get the ESPN.
Google that, man. If you can reach out to me on social media, you have the internet. Use it. But yeah, funny. Hey, we got to take a break. Yo Smith got that Stotts and Pop. But the one that people don't know, Stotts. We'll talk about that when we come back. Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club, Eagle Point Studios. Andy Moore Honda, right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new... Well, at least Chris didn't. At least Chris didn't cheat and go to YouTube or go to Google. Appreciate that. Yes, soccer is tonight. Thank you. I got that written down to talk about. Thank you. Got to come back and talk about that.
You're going to have a quick 4-minute final segment here.
So, Chris, you know Stott's relationship to Indiana, but not Popovich's? Do you know, Schutte?
I don't know either of them.
I'm dropping a little bit of knowledge on here today, huh?
I'm going to learn something today.
I'm at to Google this crap now, so I actually know what I'm talking about. Well, if we're not done, we can go over a tick.
Yeah, just go into overtime. Just make sure you're out at 10:30 for radio.
Well, this ain't my first rodeo.
Hey, I'm just being a producer.
Well,
I'm letting you know what you got to do.
I like it.
There are some producers hosts at iHeart who have no idea when the heck to take their breaks.
I've never had a producer. I haven't. I've had people do what I told them to do.
I'll tell you what, ever since the Pacers chat started, the YouTube hotline has been flying.
It's because I chastised them. There is no accident there, I assure you.
I can't believe they're already talking about a coaching change. That's bizarro to me.
Well,
I mean, I know that they're not any good, but they've also they've been so injured.
Man, they got more problems than a coaching change. Get a damn superstar.
Well, that ain't gonna happen.
All right, coming back.
Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty, Indy Home Pros.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Brought to you by Any More Honda. It is been a good one, fun. Just finished up talking with Chris Denari from the Pacers, and he brought up a couple of names. Greg Popovich and Terry Stotts, both with Indiana connections. Greg Popovich is from the region, went to the same high school as Rick Bozich, just a couple years apart. Yeah. He got cut from basketball, I think. The same basketball coach that Popovich played for, I think. Then Terry Stotts, I believe, went to Bloomington North High School, if I am correct, in Oklahoma. Played basketball in Oklahoma, right? Is that
you're teaching me stuff today? I don't.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
I'm getting some knowledge.
He was born in Cedar Falls, Iowa. He grew up in Illinois, Wisconsin, Guam, and Indiana. Military kid, obviously. But he graduated from Bloomington High School North in 1976.
Okay.
Well, he was a part of Bloomington North's undefeated team there. Haha, kidding. Joke. But he was a member of the 1976 Indiana All-Star team.
Really? Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
That is.
He was a starter in all 4 seasons at the University of Oklahoma. That's pretty damn good. Academic All-American selection his junior and senior seasons. He was all Big 8 conference his senior season, and he graduated from Oklahoma in 1980 with a master's. He's got a BS and a master's. Pretty good.
Wow.
That's a pretty solid resume there, man.
Yes, it is.
He was a second-round selection of the Houston Rockets in the 1980 NBA draft. Did not find a place there, and he played in Italy. Then he joined George Karl's CBA staff. Montana Golden Nuggets in the early 80s. He played for a team for 3 seasons and then returned to Europe. And now he's started his coaching stuff, ABA and all that stuff. But Atlanta Hawks, Milwaukee Bucks, the Mavs, and the Portland Trailblazers. But dude's from Bloomington, man.
That's awesome. I learned something in the final segment today.
Didn't get to play at IU, played at Oklahoma. That's why. He's from Bloomington. He's coaching in a damn NBA. And people from Indiana, I'm like, what? Really? That's how deep Indiana's footprint on basketball is. There are so many guys that are so deeply involved. It's just crazy. I don't want to run over, but we're about at the end of the day, so end of the trail there. But how about that little nugget of information for you?
Yeah, that's great.
Drop that on you.
Now it's some trivia. I can win a trivia night now.
It was fun today, a fun day. But we'll do it all again tomorrow. Verdell Jones. Feel like it's been a year since I've talked to him. Alec Lasley. We're going to get caught up on recruiting. What went on last weekend at the Run and Slam. There is an all-star game this weekend that is kind of cool that I'm going to try to take it in. There's so much going on. The Rivals 150 camp at Ben Davis High School. Let's go ahead and cut it. We'll do like 5 minutes of overtime. But for those of you listening on radio, appreciate you guys so much. If you're in Evansville, stay tuned for Mr. Diana Gursky coming up next. Everybody else, we're going to overtime. Other than that, thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate Dustin Schutte, as well as Chris Denari, of course, for joining us. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. Do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. Until then, I will see you on the radio.
Clear?
Cool. Yeah, that was just it. Yes, Verdell is tomorrow. Did I say something different? I hope not.
No, he said Verdell.
Let's see. What did he say? I cheated and saw where Stotts was born in Iowa, but as Forrest indicated, he attending Bloomington North. Yeah, I didn't know he was born in Iowa, so that was new to me. I assumed he was born here because I knew he went to Bloomington North. So I learned a little bit more there as well. Pacers, same boat as IU. Injuries. No, they're not in the same boat as IU. Indiana had a fraud. Indiana. Well, the injuries, Indiana could have gotten past injuries had they been coached, had they been developed. I don't even know why we're having this. I'm not going to have that same discussion. That's that. I don't want to even have that discussion again. Had it for 4 years. That's some stale breakfast there. It's like having stale cereal for breakfast.
Stale cereal. I was thinking stale bread or something.
Well, start your day with stale cereal. Can you think of something worse? Yeah, Chris. See the point out. Chris had never heard of the guy before today.
Who?
I'm assuming Terry Stotts.
No, I knew who Terry Stotts was.
But Chris didn't. He didn't know it. Well, but imagine he graduated high school in 1976. Even though he was an all-star, he left and went to Oklahoma and probably never came back.
Right.
Never been back. And then Indiana, something happened. Wasn't there something big that happened along that time in 76? Basketball was freaking exploding here. Right. Indiana was winning national championships. That guy left. He was long forgotten.
Yep.
And that's why. It's funny. The kid that's from down in Southwest Indiana, I know him. He's been on the show. Brody Boyd ended up at Iowa. Scott Skiles. These guys that
I was going to bring up his name because he's from Indiana too, isn't he?
Plymouth.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought Scott Skiles was a name that was from Indiana. I knew obviously Brad Stevens, but Scott Skiles was another name I was going to throw out there.
He was not Bob Knight material, let's say. I guess that's all you could say about Scott Skiles.
Wouldn't he have been a
wild child?
Well, I was gonna say, wouldn't he have been like a Michael Lewis type though?
Michael Lewis was, at least I would say Michael Lewis towed the line a little more of right and wrong.
Okay.
If you know what I mean there. When was okay? I think that Scott Skiles was just before Jay Edwards. They're right in the same time.
I don't know.
When was Scott Skiles? Daggone it. I'm cheating now. I'm going to jump on. When did he graduate high school? Was it early 81 or 2 maybe?
Wow, now that we're talking about it, there's a lot. Randy Whitman.
Well, but Scott Skiles didn't go to Indiana, but you also at that time, I'm thinking if that's the time at per game. So this was in 86. He was playing in the NBA. So 85, 84, 83. Yeah. So he was an 83 guy. He's Steve Alford. Steve Alford, Scott Skiles. You want to talk about some polar opposites? Are you kidding me? Who's Bob Knight going to take? Who's the Indiana player that's going to play for Scott Skiles or Steve Alford?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was a baller, man.
He was. He's such an underrated. I mean, everybody talks about John Stockton from back. Scott Skiles was such an underrated passer.
There we go. Skiles was a year ahead of Alford. There we go. I knew they were close. YouTube, the 1982 state championship for Skiles. He had a little cocaine problem. It wasn't a problem. He had no problem getting a hold of it, apparently.
I didn't know that. I
know.
I got
Chris, now I know Brody Boyd, YouTube. Oh, so there you go. Brody Boyd, did they play? Oh my gosh. I brought up Brody's name. Did they play? Those guys? That would be funny.
So I'm going to clear up my comment from earlier comparing Scott Skiles and Michael Lewis. I meant strictly from an on-court perspective where they both weren't afraid to speak their mind on the court. It had nothing to do with their off-the-court stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
So I want to clear that up. I wasn't trying to make that comparison.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up, man. We just want to go a little extra because we have some stuff to get to, but a great show, great fun today, and we'll have more to do it again tomorrow. I cannot thank you enough, brother. What you got coming up?
Oh, if you want to go, we got the Big Ten power rankings out from post spring. I have IU at number 3 on that list, and let's see.
Wait a minute. Man, you should have told me that. Why?
We have 4 months to talk about post spring power rankings.
Yeah, I get that, but if you're gonna bust that out, all right. Who's second?
Wisconsin.
Okay, I'm good with that. Right, I'm good with that right now.
Yeah, I think so. And but we'll talk about predicting who's going to win or be every Big Ten team starting quarterback in week 1. We just did a discussion about the NFL draft. So just lots of content on SaturdayTradition.com.
Make sure you do it. Yeah, we'll be back to do it all again tomorrow, man. And finding more things and fun to talk about. Any subject you want, it's a free Friday. But we'll pick up. Alec Lasley will get the recruiting lined up. There is some basketball going on this weekend. There's the Rivals Top 40 or Top 150 camp at Ben Davis High School. It's just another crazy weekend. But we'll be back tomorrow, man. Thank you guys so much for Dustin Schutte. I'm Jim Coyle. Do something nice for someone. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I will